the comparison with soccer, and it's quite important that people actually practice the halls, right? Not only in small rooms.
Yeah, we actually go to that big hall sometimes during the weekends when it's empty. We have an access, we just take the elevator and a bunch of cellos and bows, and we go into that big hall and try different things, and it's very, very healthy. I spend a lot of time every year there, like just trying things, and I find that's really so motivating. Also, you learn so much in those situations, and the students can really feel the difference. Because some things that work really well in a small room don't work at all in a big room. Like also when sound, it's interesting that somehow that dryness, that kind of like very edgy and dry sound usually doesn't work in those modern big halls. You kind of have to have that juiciness of the sound, and that really carries that inner core of juice or something like that. My favorite juice is maracuja from Brazil. That kind of sweet, really core of that kind of taste. That is what carries. That is something that it's sometimes impossible to understand in a small room, because that kind of, let's say, very tight sound in a small room can sound very impressive and brilliant, and you can get a lot of fans, and then comes a big room. And also, I like when there's like a guest soloist coming to Helsinki from abroad, a cellist, we always try to like go to listen, and maybe sometimes the soloist comes to say hi to my cello students afterwards, and also we talk about a lot of things. And it's very interesting somehow to be working in that building.
Right. And I think, Martti, that after your festival, we need to replicate that in Penedo, the Finnish town in Rio de Janeiro.
Oh. No problem. No problem. I think this bridge between Brazil and Finland is very, very good. And it's also my teacher here, Arto Noras, he has been many times in Brazil, and also played a lot. Argentina, he played a lot of concerts in Argentina. He played in Brazil. He played in these countries. It's been also kind of like during those years I studied with him. He had a lot of travels to these countries. I didn't see him go to the nearest countries from Finland, but he often traveled to South America.
Yeah, people here still remember him. The older generation of the orchestra still talks about Arto Noras and his wonderful concerts.
Yes, and he's still practicing 8 hours a day. I just talked to him.
Really?
During the Corona time, not even, sometimes it's not enough, 8 hours. He practices even more, and he's in top form. So that's a great example for everybody. Yes,
that's. I think that's very encouraging for all the cellists watching. So 8 hours a day during Corona. If you're, how old is Mr. Noras now? He's 80 or?
No, not yet. He's only 70. He just turned. He must have just turned 78. Yes, 78. He has his birthday in May. He just turned 78.
Wow.
So it's like, yeah, it's impressive. Also, I think many of the solo cellists of Finnish orchestras have always been very leading figures. And I remember like retiring solo cellists from radio orchestra, Philharmonic, they were in top form even many years after they retired. Last cello festival, the one cellist that came to all our concerts and events was the retired solo cellist Veikko Höylä from Helsinki Philharmonic. He just came to every single event. It's also showing something that the passion is never going to be really ending. And this is so important, because if you want that passion to go on to the next generation, you cannot really stop learning yourself.
Yes, this is really beautiful. And we have a good example from Natal, because Parizo taught until he was like 99.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was such a great man, not in size, but in energy and character. And he was a great teacher. I always went to see him when I was in America. When I was young, I always went to Juilliard and even to Yale to see him. And I have to say that he was a teacher that I learned a lot from. I even used some of the Debussy sonata fingerings today that he showed to some student. And I have to say that there's like a Jiang Wang, his Chinese student, his star student, he posted some time ago, maybe a couple of years ago, when he passed away, like he posted the Debussy sonata first movement. And I find that's the ultimate Debussy sonata first movement. Such a beautiful, and his way to teach Bach was very, very fascinating. I loved the way he was teaching Bach. And for romantic music, he liked that kind of very, very romantic style. He was singing always in the lessons in that kind of. But I guess also if you do that, like you go like ah, so the result will be somewhere like in the middle. If you say like maybe you could play a little bit more romantic, there's no result. So you have to go ah, and then the student will be just perfect after. So he was a great teacher.
Yes.
Not just you like doing this kind of dry remarks that, well, you played very good, maybe a technique is not so good, maybe you should have more color and maybe have a little bit more sound and more vibrato, and then not this type of teacher. He was so inspiring. He had that kind of show always going on in his studio. And he was always happy to receive people also. Like he had that kind of, is it Brazilian, that open arms kind of feeling. You came to his studio and you felt always welcome.
Yes, this was Mr. Parizo for sure.
Great man, great teacher.
Martti, Instagram is gonna cut us now, but I really want to say a big thank you to you. It was, I mean, really incredible. So many words of wisdom for all of us to reflect on. And, this is one of the good things that come out of the quarantine time, that maybe we wouldn't have done that if it weren't for the quarantine. And yes. So many thanks. Muito obrigado, Kitos, for you. And
I wish next time I could come. Like there was this plan that I was going to come there, but then came these difficult times, and I could foresee that this is not going to be a good idea to. When it was actually in the beginning of March that I should have come, but it didn't work out this time. But I hope next time, and we keep this bridge going. Whatever the channel is, there are many channels we can use, and this Instagram
yes.
is best, I think, for this kind of